Look at the device in your hand right now, or, the screen you're watching this on. Every single tap, every scroll, every momentary pause you make, it all feels so incredibly fleeting, right? Like it just disappears into the ether. But the reality is actually much, much stranger. Welcome to This Explainer. We are literally the first generation in human history to leave behind a digital soul. It's this massive, intricate trail of data that simply refuses to die. Today, we're exploring a deeply unsettling phenomenon that's quietly running right behind the scenes of our modern lives. It's called the digital ghost protocol.
We were told the internet is a tool. We weren't told it's a trap. Think about that for a second. A trap that captures our consciousness, one click at a time. We log on every day thinking we're just using a utility, right? Like turning on a faucet. But the network is capturing a piece of exactly who you are, permanently, every single time you interact with it.
So do you honestly think your history just vanishes when you delete an app from your phone? That little jiggle of the icons, the tap of the X, that satisfying feeling of wiping the slate clean? It is a total illusion. That data doesn't vanish. No way. When you hit delete, that information just shifts. It leaves your local device and formally enters the digital ghost protocol. To put the sheer scale of this into perspective, think about the year 2050. That is the exact year statisticians estimate Facebook will officially become the world's largest cemetery. Literally, there will be more accounts of deceased users on the platform than living ones. Every single platform you have ever touched is actively transforming into this sprawling, massive digital graveyard. And trust me, these aren't just names etched into a digital tombstone.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly is a digital ghost? Well, we aren't talking about literal spirits haunting your Wi-Fi router. We're talking about the totally mundane debris of your life. It's every like you gave a random post a decade ago, every angry draft email you wrote but were just too afraid to actually send, every single location ping your phone quietly whispered up to a satellite. All of it is frozen in time, still living right now, humming away on some cold server up in the Arctic.
Section 1. The Physics of Storage. Why data never dies.
Now, you might be wondering, why don't these massive tech companies just hit the master delete button on old, unused accounts? I mean, wouldn't that save server space? It's because while storage is incredibly cheap, human behavioral patterns are absolutely priceless. See, there's active data, what you're doing right this second. But then there's inactive data. And to an AI algorithm, what you stop doing is infinitely more revealing. It maps your evolution, your past failures, abandoned hobbies, forgotten interests. It basically acts as a flawless blueprint of your subconscious mind.
And this inactive data, it has very real, very present stakes for us today. For instance, insurance companies are actively exploring ways to use this inactive social data to predict your personal health risks like 20 years into the future. Meanwhile, malicious actors specifically target legacy data. Just think back to that massive 2016 MySpace breach. That was a prime example of data from largely inactive, abandoned accounts remaining a highly lucrative target for exploitation.
Section 2. Algorithmic Necromancy. Training AI on the dead.
Algorithmic necromancy. Yeah, it is an incredibly heavy term, but it's simply the practice of training AI on the data of inactive or deceased users to create generative resurrections. Think about the implications. We've essentially given machine learning the power to reach directly into the digital graveyard, pull up the blueprints of who we used to be, and just animate them.
And we're actually seeing this explode right now with the rise of dead bots and digital twins. It is so wild to think about, but services like Hereafter AI or Storyfile are completely leading this charge. They allow people to literally have full conversations with deceased relatives. By reconstructing entirely generative personalities using nothing but old, inactive WhatsApp logs, past emails, and forgotten voice notes, the ghost is made to speak again.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of the strangest transitions in human history. In the real world, human growth means evolving, right? Learning, making mistakes, completely changing our minds. But online, we have digital permanence. A person might completely change over decades, but their digital twin remains tethered forever to rigid, frozen-in-time old data. Are you allowed to simply move on, or are you just stuck as who you were 10 years ago?
Section 3. The Shadow Economy. Predicting mass human behavior.
So who actually profits from your digital ghost? Well, first off, you have data brokers quietly bundling up all that old legacy data and selling it to the highest bidder. Then you have political campaigns aggressively buying up this legacy data to build hyper-specific targeting profiles. And hedge funds? Oh yeah, they analyze the behavior of millions of ghosts to forecast market trends and accurately predict mass human behavior.
It really all comes down to a deeply chilling mathematical formula. 1 billion ghosts predict 1 billion living. If the algorithms can perfectly map out exactly how 1 billion inactive or deceased users behaved in the past, they can incredibly accurately predict how the next 1 billion living people will behave right now.
Which means we are living in a predictive reality. This ghost data actively shapes what news you see and what opinions are fed to you online. It fuels predictive policing models. It even drives modern credit scoring systems that rely heavily on historical and often biased data. Your world today is literally being shaped and governed by people who aren't even here anymore.
Section 4. The Great Delete. Escaping the Digital Graveyard.
So the crucial point is, can people truly die digitally? Here is how we actually take agency and execute the digital ghost protocol. Step 1. We absolutely must first individually recognize our own digital permanence. Step 2. Establish digital wills. These are legal frameworks dictating exactly what happens to our data when we're gone. Step 3. We have to fight for the right to erasure on a legislative level. All of this leads to Step 4. A totally new paradigm where we don't just rest in peace, but we delete in peace, preventing our ghosts from affecting the decisions of the living.
Because if you can't control what is left behind in the digital graveyard, you really have to ask yourself a hard question. If you can't delete your past, do you actually own your future? If an algorithm is using your 10-year-old data to secretly decide what loans you get or what news you read tomorrow, who is really in the driver's seat?
You know the old saying, the internet never forgets? But as we see the terrifying rise of algorithmic necromancy and these predictive shadow economies, perhaps it's finally time to let go. We have to acknowledge that the digital ghost protocol isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. It is already running on the servers hosting your life right now.
Take a moment today to really check your privacy settings. Look at what inactive data you're leaving behind and ask yourself, are you currently a ghost in the making? Would you really want your digital twin to live forever? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Start taking control of your digital footprint before it takes control of you.